So, what if the whole point of life wasn't about reaching perfection, but about embracing the unending climb itself? That's the core idea we're going to unpack today from this incredible 4th century work, Gregory of Nyssa's The Life of Moses. It completely flips our whole idea of virtue on its head.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that people have wrestled with forever. Can anyone truly be perfect? I mean, can you actually get to a point where you're just done? A final state of complete goodness? It feels impossible, doesn't it?
Well, way back in the 4th century, this theologian, Gregory of Nyssa, he came up with this really mind-bending answer. He basically said that when it comes to virtue, its only limit is that there is no limit. Think about that for a second. And this one paradox, it's the key to his whole philosophy of life, and he explains it all using the story of Moses.
So, here's the plan. We're going to look at this perfection paradox, then see how he uses the life of Moses as a kind of spiritual roadmap. We'll cover the beginning of the journey, the battle with our inner tyrants, this incredible idea of a luminous darkness, and how it all ties back to this concept of an unending ascent.
First up, the perfection paradox. This is all about why, for Gregory, there's just no such thing as a finish line.
So what does perfection even mean, Gregory? Well, forget the idea of a destination. For him, it's all about the process. It's about constant growth. His logic is pretty cool. If God is infinite goodness, then our desire to get closer to that goodness has to be infinite too. It just never stops. The second you think, yep, I've made it, and you stop climbing, you're not just standing still, you're actually sliding backward. So in his view, perfection is the unending climb.
Okay, I know this is a big, kind of abstract idea. So how does Gregory bring it down to earth? He does it by using the life of Moses. He doesn't just read it as a history book, he sees it as the spiritual roadmap for every single one of us.
See, Gregory was convinced that underneath the literal history of Moses' life, there was this deeper, spiritual meaning. He called it theoria. So this story, it's not just about some guy who lived thousands of years ago. No, for Gregory, it becomes a universal guide, like a symbolic map that you and I can use on our own journey. So, where do we start on this map? Well, the journey begins at one of the most iconic moments in the whole story, the burning bush.
And Gregory really unpacks this scene. First, notice where the divine light shows up. It's not in some far-off star, it's in a totally ordinary bush. That's key, because it shows divinity can break into our everyday material world. Then you get the command, take off your sandals. Now for Gregory, this is packed with meaning. Those sandals represent the dead covering of skins, all our worldly baggage, our stubborn ideas that keep us from standing on holy ground. So step 1 in the path to virtue is purification. It's about shedding all that stuff so you're ready for what's coming.
Okay, so after that first step of purification, things get intense. The whole conflict with Egypt, all those plagues, Gregory says that's not just ancient history. It's a powerful symbol for the war we all fight inside ourselves.
And just look at his interpretation of the plagues. It's fascinating. The water turning to blood, he says that's like our stream of faith getting poisoned by lies. And the frogs? Yeah, the frogs. He sees them as those sordid, slimy thoughts that bubble up from the muck in our own hearts. The plague of darkness? That's the ignorance of a soul that just refuses to see. And finally, the death of the firstborn? This is so important. He says it represents the need to destroy the very first seeds of evil in ourselves before they have a chance to grow.
This whole inner battle comes to a head with the crossing of the Red Sea. For Gregory, this is the big moment, a symbol for baptism. Imagine it. As you walk through those waters, that whole pursuing army of your old passions, your anger, your pride, all of it is just drowned, washed away. You come out on the other side, alone and finally free, leaving that inner Pharaoh and his army behind for good.
And that freedom, that leads us to the absolute climax of this spiritual journey. Once you're free from your own inner Egypt, you are finally ready to climb Mount Sinai. You're ready to enter what Gregory calls the luminous darkness.
So picture this. Moses leaves everyone else behind at the foot of the mountain. He's already seen God as a blinding light in the burning bush, right? But now he does something that seems almost crazy. He walks, all by himself, straight into a thick, dark cloud where God is supposed to be.
But this isn't just darkness. Gregory calls it a luminous darkness. I mean, how can darkness be bright? It's a paradox, right? What he means is that this is the point where you go beyond everything you can see, everything you can measure, everything you can possibly understand with your mind. It's that deep, profound moment where you realize the divine is just completely beyond our comprehension. And accepting that is its own kind of enlightenment.
And this is the incredible payoff. The most true knowledge you can have, the highest form of seeing, is to fully accept that you cannot see. It's finally getting to the divine is bigger than all our little boxes and labels. So the summit of the mountain, it turns out, isn't a place of crystal clear answers. It's a place of deep, profound, and silent mystery.
So, what do we do with all this? It brings us right back to the core idea of Gregory's masterpiece. The journey is the destination.
Let's just wrap this all up. True perfection, then, isn't some static state you arrive at. It's a process of infinite growth. The good life is an unending climb towards an infinite God. And along the way, we absolutely have to battle those inner Egyptians, our vices and passions. We learn that the greatest knowledge is just accepting what we can't possibly comprehend. So the goal isn't to get to the top. The real goal is to just keep climbing.
You can really see this whole journey that Gregory maps out in 3 big movements. You start with purification. That's taking off the sandals. Then comes illumination, the long, hard struggle against our own worst instincts. And it all leads to union, entering that luminous darkness, where you find connection not by understanding, but by letting go.
And so, this whole thing brings it right back to us, to you. Gregory's powerful message is that this path is open to anybody. It's not about some impossible finish line in the sky. It's just about taking the next step, right here, right now. So I'll leave you with this. If the whole point isn't to finally arrive, what does your very next step on the climb look like?